If I know one thing in life, it's that literally anything is possible. I get goosebumps thinking about how many opportunities are surrounding us at all times. People hold the key to everything. People hold the key to all of the success that we all want. It's people. All you really have to do is develop the right relationships with the right people, and you can get anywhere you want to get in life. It's really that simple. I know that you're in my head, and I know. Hi friends, I'm so excited to welcome you back to episode 2 of the Dream Life podcast. If you don't know, this podcast is for the high-achieving woman who's super successful on the outside, but on the inside knows that there's something more for her, something more authentic, something more heart-centered that she wants to pursue in her life. My name is Sumi, and I was that woman. I had built a very successful 200-person company serving some of the most mission-critical programs for the U.S. government. And after 10 years of building that company and being in that world, my calling to be an artist couldn't be ignored any longer. And so I left everything I knew behind, sold my company, moved across country to Los Angeles, where I'm now pursuing a brand new career and really my dream as a recording artist. And I have never felt happier or more fulfilled. And I want the same for you. And that's why I started this podcast. So in episode 1, I talked about some of the mindsets that I used, 3 mindsets that I used to win my first $2 million contract with my previous company. Why did I tell you that story? Because I believe that mindsets for success are transferable to whatever it is that you're doing in your life. So I want you right now to think of a goal that you have going on for you. You want to start a side hustle. You want to get a different job. You want to switch industries. You want to pursue your calling, whether that's as a writer, as an actor, as an artist of some sort, or start a vegan bakery, or whatever it is that you actually want to do in your life. I want you to listen to what I'm saying in this episode and translate these mindsets to how it applies to what you're doing right now. The first 3 mindsets I talked about on episode 1 were, I was committed to doing anything that it takes. So ask yourself, with whatever goal you have in your mind during this entire next 20 minutes that you're thinking about, ask yourself, what would it look like if you were actually committed to doing whatever it took to become successful? Without sacrificing your values, obviously. Like, I feel like that should be a given, but I want to say it anyways. The second mindset I talked about in last episode, getting into a front of room mentality. And what I mean by that is I was at this conference surrounded by hundreds of other companies way more qualified than I was, mostly older white men, and here I was, a 20-something young minority woman. I waded through that sea of men in black suits and went up to the front and shook the hand of the guy who was presenting and said, look out for me and my company. We'll be sending you a proposal. As if I was someone he should know. Front of the room mentality. Do not blend in with everybody else. Take yourself so seriously so that other people can't ignore you. Put yourself out there. Get to the front of the room. Whether literally or metaphorically, think about the goal you're working on. What does front of room mentality look like in your life today? Third mindset I talked about on last episode, and remember, this is just a recap. I'm going to move forward. I didn't ask myself, can I support what he's looking for? Do I have the qualifications he's looking for? Can I do this? Yes or no? That sounds like the question you would ask, but what I'm expressing in this podcast is that is not the right question to ask. You don't ask yourself, can I? You ask yourself, how can I? What does that one word do? It psychologically shifts everything. You start thinking in a growth mindset. You start thinking about how you can get resourceful. You start thinking about other things that you can tap into, whether it's skills you need to learn, people you need in your network, opportunities you need to create for yourself so that you can actually get there. If I know one thing in life, it's that literally anything is possible. Never ask yourself, can I do something? Because it doesn't matter if you can do it or if you're qualified now or not. What matters is, how can I? So the cliffhanger that I left you guys on was I had finally realized I had this guy named Chad who I just met, and he was a Medicare expert. And so I got super resourceful. He helps me write this proposal. We go and we sit down and we put our best foot forward. I mean, we tapped into his contacts. We tapped into other consultants. We tapped into any resource we could find to take this proposal so seriously. Now, remember, I had no idea that I was going to win this thing, but I acted as if I was. And the mindset that I'm labeling this with is the numbers game mindset. Because in life, most opportunities you don't succeed at. But the reason why some people get this far and some people get stuck in the beginning is nothing more than the number of attempts the winners take. So take every attempt seriously. It's a numbers game. And even if it's not literally a numbers game, the numbers game mindset helps you take every attempt seriously. I didn't just half-ass this proposal. I didn't just say like, well, I don't know anything about Medicare, which was the field we were submitting for. I don't know anything about it, so like, what's the point? But I guess I'll give it a try and slap something together and submit it. No, like, I gave it everything I got. And we went into that pitch meeting prepared, rehearsed, like a finely tuned machine, me and Chad. We were on. And that's the numbers game mentality. Like, you got to take each shot with 100% effort. When you think about it, this might seem kind of obvious. Like, okay, she gave it her all. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, with a numbers game mentality, you are certain of the outcome. You just know you've got to take 10 shots before you get your win. So it's like everything gets you closer to you winning. Everything gets you closer to the result you want. You might not know. It might be on your first shot, but it might be on your 10th shot. But you got to take each one of those as seriously as the next, as the previous, and the next, because each one of them is getting you closer. So it's this mentality where you're so certain of the outcome that allows you to put your all into something. Now, we arrived at the meeting. It's this huge corporation, and we're these two young Indians. Okay? I'm in my early 20s, and Chad's also in his mid 20s, I think. And it was intimidating. And we sit down and we meet with this guy who it didn't seem that he had any real influence in the company. It was as if they gave us the lowest guy on the ladder to say that we had a meeting with them. What did I do? I didn't let that deter me, because what I know is that people are everything. And you know how they always say, be nice to the secretary, be nice to the receptionist, because you never know how things get around or who's watching. Nothing could be more true. And also, it's just about being a good human. I'm already there. Why am I not going to treat the guy with the utmost respect? We pitched him, and he didn't really pay much attention, or at least that's how I felt. And we went through our whole thing, and he's like, okay, cool. Well, we have, he puts up on the board, what they're looking for, because that's just what he was told to do. It was we went from high like this to suddenly, I remember walking out of there feeling so deflated. I just sort of felt like we got smashed. And I walked out of there and I was like, well, I gave it my best. That was all I could do. But the second mindset I want to tease out of the story that's applicable to your life right now and your goals and my goals that I'm going with, moving forward, that I'm looking to moving forward, and that I try to think about in terms of what made me successful then is going to help me be successful now. And that's also part of the reason that I'm doing this podcast, because it's the mindsets are the same. The actions are the same. The behaviors are the same. It's just a different goal right now, right? And so people were everything. I met Chad because I was so focused on networking and so focused on making connections. And I would have never had gotten to this pitch meeting without Chad. The universe had just set it up so that I met the exact person I needed to go into this pitch meeting 2 weeks before I found out that I needed him. The same kinds of things are happening for all of us at all times. The difference is some of us are aware of it and some of us aren't. That's why the law of attraction works, because we have the reticular activation center in our brains that show us, we can't take in all of the information around us at once. We can only take in certain amounts of things with our senses. And if they're not already like in our purview, in our mind, we won't notice things. You see what's in your purview already. So I suddenly had I needed to find a guy who knew Medicare, and I realized I had met a guy who knew Medicare. That happens to all of us. It's not unique. I get goosebumps thinking about how many opportunities are surrounding us at all times. So anyways, the second mindset that I approached this pitch meeting with was every person is critical. People make or break everything. People first is the mindset. People first. That small business rep who met with us from this big corporation was not high on the totem pole, but I knew that he has more power than I realized because that's just always the case. And even if he didn't, I was going to treat him like he did the small talk, did the bullshitting, did everything I knew to do to relate to another human being, to another soul. And that's what sometimes we miss when we think oh, this has already gone downhill, I'm just going to scoot out of here. Or when we get caught up in our thoughts and then don't treat people like they need to be treated, we miss out on opportunities. And I think one of the things that I did back then was, ladies, I was just always leaning into people, always having lunch meetings with this nervous pit in my gut, always making cold calls, always reaching out and trying to connect because something in me knew that people hold the key to everything. If you read my ebook that's out called Girl Get Your Dream, there's a whole chapter on people. And I talk about how people literally are the key to everything we want in life. And it's not rocket science. You don't have to be smart enough for anything. You don't have to be good enough for anything. You don't have to be talented enough in anything. All you really have to do is develop the right relationships with the right people. And you can get anywhere you want to get in life. It's really that simple. And the older I get, the more that sort of hits me as universally true. So that's the second mindset, not forgetting that people are the key to everything. Then the third mindset that I think wrapped this whole story in a bow was this. And remember I left it off last time with what happened at this pitch meeting was crazy. Well, this is what's crazy. About a week or two later, I remember that I was actually in another meeting. And I was in a building in Washington, D.C., and I get a call on my cell phone. And it was Pearson Government Solutions, the company that we had went to pitch to. And the guy on the other line, super terse, super straight to the point, he says to me, listen, we're reaching out to you because I want to let you know that we have chosen your company, K4 Solutions, to be our partner on this Medicare contract. My heart almost exploded. What? I definitely didn't think we were going to win that one. And I'm just silent. And I'm like, okay, great. And he's like, but I have a really important question for you before we can move forward. We just want to confirm that you are capable of hiring, training, and having on-site ready to go 75 full-time employees under your company who are going to serve this contract, and the start date is 2 weeks from now. I was like, he wants me to hire 75 people full-time, train them up, and have them ready to start in 2 weeks. I swallowed that ball of fear, and I was like, yep, we're good to go on that. You got it. Absolutely capable. And he's like, okay, great. We'll send you the contract today. And I hung up, and I'm like, what the just happened? What? It hit me over the head. It was me. I had 2 guys working for me at the time. I had a program manager and the guy on site. So total of 3 people and me. And I had just said yes to hiring and training and having ready to go 75 full-time employees on my payroll, trained up in 2 weeks. When an opportunity like what you have been dreaming of comes your way, don't sabotage it and think you're not able to do it. I said yes, and I knew that I would be able to figure it out on the back end. I would be able to figure it out afterwards. So the third mindset is say yes. Say yes. when something unexpected happens, when you meet somebody that's like the seemingly like the man of your dreams, or when something that almost seems too easy happens for you, don't self-sabotage it and think that you're not ready. Just say yes. If you get an opportunity to go speak somewhere, go say yes, even though you're going to be throwing up beforehand because you're so nervous. If it's something that you know you want, don't self-sabotage. So I said yes to this opportunity, and that is what I wanted to share today. So I want you to, let's circle back. That goal you started listening to this episode or watching on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, hi. What goal were you thinking about when we first started talking? As you get closer and closer, playing the numbers game, taking each person as the key to everything along your path. It's numbers game, all the people that you come into, and then when something happens for you, say yes. It's going to feel scary. You're going to want to say no. Do you think I didn't want to say no when he said that? I could have easily said. And I do wonder whether he potentially reached out to other companies before me and they said no. And that's the only reason why I got that contract, because we definitely were not the most qualified. But I said yes. And that led to, if in case you missed the punchline, a $2 million contract for my very small baby company at the time. This was game-changing, life-changing, trajectory-changing in every way, because that momentum then gave us some past performance and led us to bid on bigger contracts and partner with bigger companies and really just go places I could have never gone. So when that happens, say yes. Don't be one of those idiots who said no and lost out on the opportunity to change their life. That is my spiel for today. I gave you guys the summary. I want you to apply these mindsets to whatever is going on in your life. Okay, my goal is to give you something that you can take away and apply to your own life, and I hope that happened for you today, and I will see you on the next episode of the Dream Life with Sumi podcast. Lots of love.